don't already know is dangerous to do, they're just going to, you know, there's not any, I don't think there's any education we can do to stop people from being stupid. It's an enforcement issue.
Going back to Goforth, are there any talks with
coming back to Deputy Goforth?
Goforth, sorry.
Darren Goforth.
Yes, going back to Goforth. Is there going to be any talks with the chief about maybe policy changes within HPD in reaction?
We don't believe this. Certainly, in conversations with the chief, we don't believe that this is something that requires a policy change. A uniform is highly visible, and that's what we want. Because usually the sight of a uniform tells somebody that there's someone you can turn to for help and safety. But a uniform also can be a target, and our officers are acutely aware of that right now. This is not something where changes in policy would have an impact. He was on duty, but he was doing something that every one of us does probably on a weekly basis, pumping gas into a car. It's a horrible, horrible incident, and whether the perpetrator had mental health issues or not, it's a huge loss to the community and an incident that will cause all of our law enforcement to be looking over their shoulders and raise tensions, which we don't want to have happen.
I just had one more. The GHP and the Arnold Foundation in recent weeks have both put out kind of white papers on city finances, city pensions. They were talking about wanting to raise awareness of these issues in an election cycle. What's your reaction to their efforts?
I think it's important to raise awareness of pensions, whether in the election cycle or not. I've been talking about pensions for certainly all of the 6 years that I've been mayor. And for some unknown reason, that both the partnership and the Arnold Foundation glosses over the fact that this is entirely within the control of the state legislature, and the state legislature has failed completely to address the issue. I have no problem saying, give it to the city of Houston and we'll fix it. I would have fixed it 5 years ago if I had it in my hands. You get to the last page of the Arnold Foundation's report, and it says things like, well, you need to revalue the pension assets and change the expected rate of return from 8.5% to 7.5%. We've been talking about that as a city. My finance director and I both talked about that. We don't have the power to do that. The independent pension board makes that decision. There is one item on that list from the Arnold Foundation. If I sound frustrated, I am. There's one item on that list from the Arnold Foundation that the city could actually do, and that is we could fully fund all of our pensions. I would have to lay off thousands of city employees and shut in any number of core services in order to do that. My position has been, it's my job to try to have a secure and safe pension going forward and to meet our minimum obligations, but it's also my job to provide the services that city taxpayers demand and to try to rein in these out-of-control pensions. Why would I want to put more money into a broken system? And for the Arnold Foundation to wave their pen and say, well, just put more money in and fully fund them and then we'll fix the problems later, is short-sighted and would be a detriment to every citizen of Houston who depends on the city of Houston for their services.
Madam Mayor, I have only one question.
Okay.
I'm sorry for being late. I was at the jail bridge where some graffiti was there. A private citizen comes in with a spray can, painted it. He said, there's no need to do this. What's your reaction to this?
So which bridge?
Jail and center, there was some graffiti depicting the face of a police officer and a gun pointing to his head. A private citizen came out of nowhere with a spray paint and painted over the graffiti. And he said, there's no need for this. What's your reaction to that?
Well, first of all, we are opposed to graffiti. And graffiti is vandalism. Graffiti is a crime. You know, if it's on somebody's property with permission, it's art. If it's not, if it's without permission or it's on public property, it is a crime, and we're very aggressive about it. To have graffiti that could be in some way construed as inciting violence is absolutely inappropriate, and I appreciate that citizen for stepping up and covering it up. We do have an abatement program where the city, your tax dollars at work, the city pays for teams to go around and cover it up, but I'm glad that a citizen decided to step up and take care of it.
Thank you.